All right, for segment one, today we're starting a new series where I think we're going to close out the year. I know it's only May, right? But I think we're going to close out the year talking about Free League for segment one. And not just any old Free League, because there are a lot of Free League games. I'm talking specifically the Year Zero engine. And let me put one more caveat on that. Not just the Year Zero engine, but the old school version of the Year Zero engine. Because the Year Zero engine has actually changed. And I don't know if it's a preference thing on their side or if they just think it's better gameplay or whatever. But all the games that I have scheduled between now and the end of the year are using the D6 dice pool Year Zero engine of some sort. So the first game we're going to start with is Mutant Year Zero, and I'm going to provide an introduction to that. However, let's get that off the screen. I'm not even going to put the book up yet. I'm going to get that off the screen because I'm going to talk to you a little bit. So I came across Mutant Year Zero completely by accident. I may have talked about this on a live stream a few years ago. I can't remember, but I don't expect you guys to watch that. Where I was going to play this computer game, Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. I was like, oh, it's an XCOM type game with anthropomorphic animals. That sounds neat. I can play that, right? Let's do this. Boom. And those are the two main characters from that game. I was like, man, this would make like a great RPG. That'd be really cool to turn this into an RPG. And then I come to find out in a little bit of research that it's based on an RPG called Mutant Year Zero by Free League. Now you might be asking yourself, why isn't the Free League site up there? What's this Heroic Systems? Well, I'll get to that in a moment. So I found out that it was a game. I was like, well, you know what? I'll check it out. I mean, I would like to cover RPGs on at that time, the Legion Myth Weekly live stream. Maybe I could get Heathen Dog covered or something. And I picked up the book and instantly fell in love with the rules. I was kind of like, where have you been for the last few years? Because I was struggling between rules light games and OSR games and crunchy games. And this Mutant Year Zero, the way the system worked, really covered the bases that I like. I like dice pools. Now, there is a non-dice pool version, as I mentioned before, but I like dice pools. I like anthropomorphic animals. Well, where are the anthropomorphic animals? They're not in Mutant Year Zero. Oh, well, they're in Mutant Gen Lab Alpha down here, an entire book about them. So, and we'll be talking about that in the next game, because I'm going to start with Mutant Year Zero. Then we're going to Mutant Gen Lab Alpha. The one thing I'm going to do differently in covering Mutant Year Zero versus how we've covered other games is I'm only going to cover combat one time for the 4 games. Combat is going to be covered in Mutant Year Zero in this series, and I think that's next week as a matter of... Nope, it's 2 weeks from now. When I cover it, that's going to be the only time until I get to Coriolis that I'm going to talk about the combat. Because Mutant Gen Lab Alpha, Mutant Megatron, and Mutant Elysium follow the same system. There are some tweaks, most notably with Megatron, but we'll cover those tweaks at that time. So I'm only going to cover combat system one time. Other than that, we're going to cover what the differences are. But Mutant Year Zero, you said I got into it from finding out that it was a computer game into like, oh my God, it's a role-playing game. And I honestly, it's what made me fall in love with the Year Zero engine. That's why I love Forbidden Lands. You can thank Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden, the computer game, for all that. For Coriolis, for Alien, for what else do I have back there? Vaesen. Yeah. So I have a whole shelf of just Free League now. And this is the same company, Heroic Signatures. I'm sorry, did I say Systems for Signatures? Heroic Signatures is the same company that's also taken over Conan when we were talking about that. Okay? And for the folks who like, Savage Worlds, Solomon Kane. So it's taken over. And of course, as we talked about previously, Mutant Chronicles. So games we've already covered this year. Seems like... dang it, every game I'm covering this year is going over to Heroic Signatures, which I don't know if I like or don't like. What I'm really nervous about, Conan we know is gone. Okay, Mutant Chronicles we know is gone. Hopefully you're not getting epilepsy there. What I'm curious about is Mutant Year Zero. Oh, and Solomon Kane is gone too. It's not even on the PEG website anymore. What I'm interested to understand is if Mutant Year Zero is gone as well. Now, Free League still sells it. Still licensed. I mean, Free League doesn't technically own it from what I understand either. So I don't know where this stands. And, well, I hope it doesn't change because I like the Year Zero engine. I think it fits this game. And yeah, anyway, we're supposed to be talking about game stuff and less about the opinion side of things here. But I did want to point that out to you guys that stop presenting here. I said stop there. And was there anything else I want to talk about here? Nope, that'll come up later. That'll come up later. And that will come up later. So let's get the book up here. And let's take a look at present again. This time we'll just do the book. And I'm going to look at some chat. And then we're going to start talking about Year Zero. My chat's way over here, so it can be a pain in the butt to see. Actually, let me look over here. See, good day. Hey, good to see you, Mobius. Shuko, good to see you as well. Year Zero engine is a good one. Thank you. Yeah, I like it. And to be honest, I like both versions of it. My preference is the D6 dice pool just because I like dice pools. But I like both versions of the Year Zero. Let's see. Okay. Don't hear anything that doesn't agree with me. So I think what's that? Good news is I don't hear anything that doesn't agree with me. So I think the world revolves around me. What are we talking about? What happened? Okay. Heroic Signatures is the holding company. They aren't doing anything with the properties. They just license them out. I thought Heroic Signatures was making a Conan game. My understanding is that Heroic Signatures is making its own Conan. I don't know about the rest, but is definitely making, I shouldn't say definitely, but my understanding is it's making a Conan game. But Mutant Year Zero's in limbo. Ignore is trying for it. Free League is good. Yeah, so Free League, okay, you know what? This is the introduction video. I've got a couple other things I'll say right now. First of all, Jenny from Free League is freaking awesome. I know she's been there for at least a couple of years, if not more than that, because she helped me out when I lived in Germany. She's helped me out a couple of times since then. So she's customer support. I mean, I don't know her actual official position, but customer support. But every time I work with her, Jenny from Free League is freaking awesome. Free League has always been helpful, even when there's shenanigans. So good out there. So Jenny, thank you for your help. And what happened recently is I backed the Kickstarter for Forbidden Lands for Beasts, the Beast Man, basically the Monster Manual and Blood March. I forget what the full book's called. Well, I got the package in, and I was like, oh, I got my Kickstarter. Cool. I didn't pay too much attention to it because I was like, well, I'll be covering Forbidden Lands later. Whatever. Let's just put it on the shelf, and I'll get back to it. And then a couple days later, I got another package by Kickstarter. This time with the book, the cards, and the cloth map. I was like, wait a second. I know I wouldn't have backed this twice. What's going on here? And I checked, and I didn't back it twice. I only backed it once. And it was the one with the map and so forth. So the second shipment was the right one. So I was like, hey, do you want me to send this back to you? Or I could do it as a giveaway when we go to when we cover Forbidden Lands. And she was all cool with that. She's like, that sounds like a good idea. So thanks to Free League sending me some extra stuff and being okay with me doing a giveaway when we go through Forbidden Lands, I'm going to be giving away that the Monster Manual, I'm going to call it for now because I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, something Beasts, and the Blood March campaign setting. So thank you for Jenny out there. Also, Free League is like Palladium to me. And here's what I mean by that. They do a couple of things that make me beat my head into the table. That just annoy the crap out of me. But that's all superseded by good stuff, which you will find out in any game that they've got that they... Look, Forbidden Lands absolutely believes in bioessentialism. Thank you. And what I mean by that, yes, I use that term, but it understands the tropes of traditional fantasy, even if it throws some of them on their head, right? Free League, I believe, likes gamers. Again, Palladium's the same thing. Palladium likes the gamers. Palladium likes its fans. Free League seems to have the same mindset. There are some things in the culture war, and yes, there is a culture war going on. I am saying that here in segment 1, not on a Friday Night Chill stream, because I have a character creation video for Forbidden Lands that gets some people a little riled up because I say some things. There is still a culture war going on, and I'm still going to say those things. And there are two aspects about this book that I will show you, one in segment 1, one in segment 2, about this book that Free League has gone off the deep end on, and I will call them out for that. Okay? But all told, Free League is a good company. I won't say great. I will say a good company that I think should be supported. But what's concerning is they're focusing on the IPs now. Alien, Blade Runner, Oddworld. Like, and focus on what got you going. Focus on this. Like, again, anybody can do whatever they want with this, right? But, man, focus on Coriolis. I know you just came out with the third book in the wake of the Icon series, but to be fair, what sells more? And this goes back to Omenel's comment a little bit ago with there being coy about it. I think they're coy about it because I don't think this sells. And I'm hoping to be able to help change that. I hope that when I'm done with this, no matter what I say about it, you guys are like, I need to go out and get Mutant Year Zero. And the other 3 books that go with it. And start running the game. So there we go. There's a bit of background there. Again, this is the introduction video, so it's okay. I'll cover that when we go to that. Cover that later. And yeah, that's pretty much all I need to say. Already said that as well. Okay. Excellent. I think we're ready to go. What do you guys in chat say? And then I'll do proclivities, and then we'll get started. Monolith took over the Conan IP. They're doing the board game for the last few years. Okay, well, Modifius can no longer sell Conan after June, right? Free League has been awesome for customer support. Even when they mess up an order, they'll make it right. Yes. Free League has been absolutely amazing for customer support. Again, I put Palladium and Free League in very similar veins. Very different styles, but very similar veins, where I truly believe that they appreciate and like their customers. Again, they both do some things I don't agree with, but I think ultimately they appreciate their customers. And this is why even when Free League makes some of the changes that we'll be talking about, I still try to support them. If they go off the deep end, well, then I'll just stop. So there we go. All right. So what is Mutant Year Zero? Well, obviously, it's going to be a post-apocalyptic game, right? You stay there. I'm not ready for you. Let's scroll down. This is a zone map. Now, what's cool about the zone map, right? I don't think I have an actual zone map for Mutant Year Zero. I have to buy one. It's one of the only maps I don't have. But you can make your own zone map by using Google Maps and just putting a grid over it. Okay? And changing it up how you want. We'll find out later on how big these squares are, mostly because I've forgotten. But you explore this area. So your zone map is going to look differently than my zone map. You might have an encounter in an area with a lot of rot, which we'll talk about later, in yours, where mine was just easily passed through. And that's what makes this fun. And this is one of the things that I really think that Free League has done well with this and Forbidden Lands, is the exploration side of it. No 2 games are going to be the same, even if they play on the same map, so to speak. Because you're going to find adventure areas in different zones. The art of this game is fantastic. Now, this is the 4th printing. My book, I think it's the 3rd printing, because again, I got into it late. Yeah, this looks like this is the 3rd printing. This is not true. This is a lie right here. Updates in the 4th printing with only cosmetic changes, and I'm going to show that in the second segment, okay? So, people at the end of time, we're going to cover that in this episode, and then next episode is going to be your mutant. Next week is going to be skills, and yes, the entire week is going to be, the entire segment is going to be on skills, because pretty much everything to do with die rolling is in that segment. I'll cover a little bit beforehand, but most of it is in that segment. Then we have talents and mutations, and conflict and trauma. This would be mostly combat, although a lot of combat is also up here in skills. And I can't remember how I have that broken down. And then the arc. Oh, the arc and zone travel. Yeah, that's the last week. Arc and zone travel is the last week. I will not be going into the Game Master section at all in this. So it's just going to be stuff for players out there. I'm not going to be spilling the beans of what happens, okay? Now, with that said, before we get started with the people here, I'm going to look at chat while I do this. The core values of hashtag RPGate and any good tabletop group are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural, organic inclusion, not forced diversity. Please follow that QR code or refer to the description below for the link to the charity we support, which is the Wounded Warrior Project. Thursdays and Saturdays, you can watch the Dirty Casuals on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. Fridays and Sundays, you can watch the Friday Night Chill Stream and RPG Digest on our YouTube and Rumble channels. Please leave us a comment with your thoughts and experiences, and if you like our gaming content, please be sure to subscribe to Legion of Myth. So, I just realized that, okay, apparently it's not up on Rumble. I see it here, so let me quickly go to Rumble. See if maybe I copied and pasted incorrectly or something. Pardon me for the delay. Let's copy this again. Put it over here. There's that. And copy that. There. Here. All right, it's added. Save changes. All right. Should be good soon. That doesn't work. I don't know what to say because all I did was copy and paste. It looked like I missed a letter. I think when I copy and pasted, I did a bad job. So, all right. Full screen that. Oops, I was full screen on that bad boy. We're going to talk about the background of people at the end of time. Of course, the world ends. It happens quickly, faster than anyone could predict. The red plague hits a world already on the brink of collapse. Extreme climate change, global economic crisis, increasing conflict between old and new superpowers. When the pandemic comes, the last thin veneer of stability crumbles. Funny how this game predicted that years before it actually happened. Yes. So now I know because it always happens every time. So I'm just going to come out there with it. Don't listen to this pair and go, oh my God, it's woke garbage. So woke. No, it's not. Okay. These are typical tropes used to explain the end of the world in a post-apocalyptic type game. Everything from nuclear war to climate change or whatever else. Seas rising, deserts rising. Who cares? That's always been part of the idea of a post-apocalyptic game. Let it go. Okay. The part that I thought was funny is I don't even remember what year. I mean, my book was 2017, so that's beforehand. So I don't even know. Yeah, my printing is 2017, and I have the third printing. The universe was around even before this version of the game. So, hey, it's kind of funny how that, when the pandemic comes, the last thin veneer of stability crumbles. But good to see our society didn't crumble, and we've not suffered under the red flag. Right, yeah, before it was politicized. There you go. Must be set in 2026. Okay. 1 billion people die in the first year. Utter panic reigns supreme. Solidarity between nations is non-existent. Wars break out over the last dwindling resources of the world. For the first time since 1945, nuclear weapons are used in armed conflict. Mushroom clouds rise from east to west. Everyone tries to save themselves. The rich, the powerful start monumental projects to escape the surface of the dying earth, which is actually pretty cool in this game, by the way. All four of these games kind of revolve around those types of monumental projects. And there are even a couple extra that if you really wanted to, as a player or a game master, you could make your own setting based around. I'm not going to name them off now. Again, mostly because I forgot. But yeah, when we get into Mutant Gen Lab Alpha, when we get into Mutant Megatron, and we get to Mutant Elysium, you're going to see 3 of them. And I think there were 7, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that. But anyway. To escape the surface of the dying earth, going deep underground to the bottom of oceans, into the cold darkness of space. The seats in these final lifeboats for mankind are desperately few. For most of the world's inhabitants, there is no way out. Once it's all over, Earth is still. Nature invades ruined cities. Winds sweep through the empty streets turned into graveyard. Time gnaws the window of skyscrapers, panes falling to the ground in a slow rain of glass. Hey, good to see you, Patty's Parlor. Sorry you can't stay, but thank you for coming by and thank you for the comment. And again, I apologize to the folks on Rumble that I copied and pasted the stream key incorrectly. My bad. Yet life remains. Slivers of humanity survive the apocalypse in the Ark, and the Ark is going to be very important for this portion of the game, or for this version of the game, Mutant Year Zero. In the Ark, a small settlement at the edge of a dead city, the people live. You are the spawn of humanity, but not quite human. You are twisted funhouse images, mutated freaks. Your bodies and minds have incredible powers, but you are unstable, fragile. None of the people are over 30 years old. That is something to consider as you play Mutant Year Zero. Except the Elder. Your leader, but not like you. One of the ancients. For decades, he has warned you, be on your guard. Don't leave the Ark. Stay here or the rot will get you. Or something even worse. So far, you've obeyed his commands, lived off rations from the old age, chased off every stranger who came close to the Ark. Few dared to go outside into the zone. That is what the Elder calls the outside world. But the safe days are over. Food is running scarce, and the fight for what's left is turning violent. You starve. Factions are forming, bosses on top and grunts at the bottom. By the way, I am actually going to look at this right now, because I haven't actually compared this. Yes, this is not a cosmetic change, Free League. This means you're a bunch of cucks to people with fifis hurt. The right word to put here is slaves. You won't be able to see it here, but in the next segment, you will be able to see it as I show the actual role called a slave. It's not a grunt, it's a slave. Don't change it because people, I don't like the word. Shut up. In the middle, fixers who try to turn a profit from anyone and everyone. And the Elder can't stand up on his own anymore. They say he can't even take a piss without help. You're on your own now. It's time to venture out, to explore the zone, to search for artifacts and knowledge. Build, grow the land, seek out others, create a new civilization on the ruins of the old one. Seek your origin. No children are born to the people. If you do nothing, you will perish. Maybe one day you will find the Eden of legend, the ancients' haven from the encroaching hellscape. That is where salvation and truth await, the stories say. Maybe it's all fairy tales. It doesn't matter. You have no choice. This is the beginning. This is Year Zero. All right. I don't normally read all of that, but since the background was short and it really just evokes what the world is about. So, yeah, it's what's that? Red Plague? How accurate? Was there a red plague? I don't know what that's about. So, what is Mutant Year Zero? It's a role-playing game. Players, you're going to take on a role, and you're going to play. Warning to players, don't read Section 2. And guess what? We're not going to be covering Section 2. Sometimes, so assembly, actually, I want to read this. Sometimes you as players have influence over the people as a whole. So the people are the characters of the Ark. The NPCs and the PCs, non-player characters and the player characters of the Ark are the people, okay? At so-called assemblies, hello, NNGM, good to see you here. You were referred here, well, hopefully by somebody good. Hopefully by somebody good. Appreciate that. Welcome. What Free League does very well in its games is it incorporates in-character and out-of-character aspects. If you have somebody who's like, I don't know if I'm really liking role-playing games, can I be useful in another way? And you kind of look at the game going, I mean, that's all we do is we sit and role-play. Man, there are always out-of-character things, or at least out of the direct role-playing aspect of it. However you want to look at it in your game. I would still call it role-playing, but again, your mileage may vary. That you can do. And when we get to that part of this game, we'll talk about what the specifics are, but essentially there's an out-of-character aspect of this game. As you build up the Ark, you make it stronger, you make it better, you make it accommodate more people. And that's what's great about this. So you have your adventuring, but you're adventuring for a purpose. It could be for riches for you if that's all you want. There's nothing wrong with that. Or it could be, no, we got to bring everything back and for the arc. Hey, and anything in between. That's all about you. How do you want to do this? As so-called assemblies, you speak for the entire population. That's right. The player characters make the decisions as to how the arc is going to go. Now, could you roleplay that differently and be like, you know what? I don't want the player character starting off. Do that. I'm the game master. Yada. Yes, sure you could. But the intent is for the players at the end of sessions or beginning of sessions, depending how you want to do it, to determine how the arc grows or changes. You need rations? Got to go out there and get them. Can't grow them yet. Over time, you might be able to grow them. No, somebody's attacking the arc. You got to defend it. Hey, one of the bosses has a mission for you to go do something. Will you do that in order to keep we'll call it the sanctity of the arc? Anyway, assemblies you speak, at so-called assemblies, you speak for the entire population of the arc and make decisions about which projects the people should undertake. And we'll talk more about that chapter 7. The Game Master is the final character. Hopefully by this point you know what a Game Master is. It's the one character on the side who runs the game, narrates the session, makes determinations for all the non-player characters, and sets the scene. Use the players! Being the GM can feel like an overwhelming responsibility, as if the entire game rests on your shoulders. It doesn't. In section 2 of this book, you will find many useful tools. One important piece of advice, don't be afraid to let the players help you. Can't think of anything to say when describing a ruined building or an NPC? Let a player describe it instead. There you go. So what do you do? I feel like there's a paragraph missing here. Or is it not actually here yet? But maybe not. Maybe it is later. Oh yeah, it's much later. Okay. So what do you do? So in Mutant Year Zero, no one will hold your hand and show you where to go. You and the other players create the stories in the games. Uh-oh. What? I'm not just playing the Game Master story? That is correct. You're creating them. Even the Game Master doesn't know how a lot of things are going to work its way out. Why? Because dice rolls and locations that you go to. Remember, I already said that the map isn't full of fixed locations. You find out what's there by adventuring. And your map could be completely different than my map when all is said and done. You fight for grub, water, and bullets. Grub being food, obviously, but just in case. Bullets are both ammunition and money. You buy things with bullets. Do you want to save them all to shoot baddies and then have nothing? Or do you spend them all and fight a different way? That's up to you. But you have grub, water, and bullets. Grub and water not only feed you, but they help heal you as well. And we'll talk about that when we talk about combat and trauma in a few weeks. Okay? Starvation is never far away in Mutant Year Zero. Clean water is a luxury. The rot is out to get you, and the rot is your biggest, even more so than monsters trying to bite your face off. The rot is your biggest enemy. And it's gonna get you. Maybe not. But it probably will get you. If you don't have grub and water, you'll have to fight to get it. And if you do have what you need, you can be sure some other freak will try to take it from you. And then you need bullets to load your gun or to buy protection from someone stronger. And take part in the projects. We already kind of talked what those projects are. So you can protect the arc. You can protect your own, explore the zone. This is probably going to be the vast majority of your sessions. It doesn't have to be. I'm just saying that's my guess. It's going to be the vast majority of your sessions, as that leads into searching for Eden that we talked about in that beginning. Now, the funny thing is, Eden could be a fairy tale. It really could. Or it could be real. That's up to you and your table. Okay? Each one of these books, Mutant Year Zero, Mutant Gen Lab Alpha, Mutant Megatron, and Mutant Elysium, has an introductory adventure that opens up some of the history of the setting of the game world. And each one is different. This book is kind of like the core game, I guess you'd say. Now, you don't need this to play Gen Lab Alpha. It has all of the rules to play Gen Lab Alpha, Megatron, or Elysium. But this would be like the core rules. And the other ones are like prequels that lead to this. I actually considered running a Gen Lab Alpha group, a Megatron group, and an Elysium group, and then ending up here and then having players create whatever characters they want, whether it's in your Zero, Mutant, Gen Lab Alpha, keep the ones that they're playing or whatever. But I never got to that. That was when I was in Germany. All right, tools of the game, character sheets. Well, actually, you know what? I can show. What page am I on? 15. I'm guessing character sheets, if that's 280, are probably around 276. Oh, it's close. This is zone log, so you'll keep track of what goes on in the zone. You need to note the rot level. So these are for players. At least I think they're for players. What's this? This is the arc sheet. This is when you take on projects, what you do with those projects, and how long, if it's completed or if it's still being worked on. And your development points, again, we'll get to all of that in Chapter 7. Oh, yeah, the color versions. Okay, let's get to the character sheet. Let's go to color character sheet. We're in full color nowadays, right? It's not 1950 anymore. So here's your character sheet. If you are familiar with Year Zero Engine games, this is going to look familiar to you. If you're not, well, it's very simple. Strength, agility, wits, and empathy. Those are your 4 core attributes, and they make the basis of your character. Generally, your character. If you have strength of 3, you roll 3 dice for strength. There you go. If you have a wits of 5, you roll 5 dice. We'll get to more of that later. Conditions, there are 4 of them, 1 for each attribute. Skills, this is it. There is one other skill that you'll have. It'll be a specialty skill based on your role, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But these are all the skills in the game. And you might sit here, because the first thing I did when I saw the skill list is like, how do you play an entire game with only 12, 13 skills? How do you do that? Like, that doesn't make sense. I mean, how do I specialize? No, it works. Stop trying to be a simulationist and just enjoy playing the game. So, Cook Show, we'll actually talk about the mechanics deeply when we get to the skill system, which, that's next week. Next week, we'll talk about the skills. Right? Rot points, this will be, notice random top of experience points. Let's see which one fills up faster. You hope it's not your rot points. Let's put it that way. So, anyhow, you'll need a character sheet, notebook, whatever, that dives into the character. And I'm not going to read off any more of what these are, because we'll end up talking about it more as we get characters. So you'll need dice. Now, I'm going to show this. I probably should have done this a different way. So let me first stop sharing for just a second, because I want to do this. 11U. And present this again. So Mutant Year Zero sort of uses specialty dice, okay? And we're going to talk way more about this when we get into skills, and I'm going to keep this die roller up. But I do have the dice for the game, but all you need are D6s of 3 different colors. That's really all you need. Are D6s of 3 different colors. What makes the specialty dice easier, perfect, are these symbols. Anybody like, well, okay, this is a 1 and that's a 6. How is that hard? Well, the 1s and 6s only matter at certain times. And like the green dice here, the 1s never matter. I mean, it's just, so it doesn't matter what you're doing. 1s never matter. And on the yellow and black, the 1s only matter when you're pushing the roll. So the specialty dice do make it easier, but in no way, shape, or form are they necessary, as long as you know the rules of the game and you know which dice you're rolling are the skill dice. That's it. But the yellow would be your attributes. So we're talking about attributes: your strength, your agility, your wits, and your empathy, right? The green are your skill dice, and the 5 is your gear die, or gear dice. I think you can have up to 3. So, and you roll those dice, and every 6, which is this symbol right here, the radiation hazard symbol, that's a 6. That's a success. This person has succeeded at the task. What about the 1? Again, we're going to get in that later when we talk about skills. At this point, don't worry about that. But right now, this person with all those dice, got 1 success, has succeeded at the task. There you go. Use D6s or use the specialty dice. Back to here. By the way, the reason I don't do it where I can show all the different screens and tabs is I can make it just a touch bigger this way then. And I don't accidentally show you porn or something. I don't know. So D6 and D66. D66 is like rolling percentile dice. Again, if you're new to the role-playing games, D66 is you take 2D6s, roll them together. One acts as the 10s, one acts as the 1s, and you get a number between, was it 11? 11, I think, yeah, because you can't roll lower than 1. So a 1 and a 1 is 11, a 6 and a 6 is 66, a 1 and a 5 is a 15, a 5 and a 1 is a 51. There you go. And it tells here what the symbols mean. This symbol right here, let me zoom in on it, which I already showed on the die roller, but let's, is very similar to the Modiphius stuff if you remember the Dark Symmetry dice, where it used a symbol instead of saying, hey, a success. I wish it would say success and not the symbol, but that's fine. It is what it is. That is a success right there. This, well, can be a problem. I don't want to say is, can be a problem. Same with this one. This is what it looks like on your gear die. I can't get it to, okay, this explodey one, that's what it looks like on the gear die. This is what it looks like on your base die. There isn't one for the skill die as we talked about before. And if that sounds confusing, trust me, when we get to skills, you'll be good. So sometimes I can visualize it in my head, but I explain it and make it clear as mud. So there is a card deck, which I do have. You do not need it. But if you care, there are threats. What are threats? Those are just adventure ideas. Let's just pick one right here. The Killing Machine. What does this say? A small zone expedition returns, bloody and exhausted. Several members of the group have been killed, and the survivors are delirious. They claim to have been attacked by a walking machine. Has the rot driven them all insane? So you can take that as a hook for an adventure. There are mutations. Now, these are just the mutations in the game. So you can roll in the book, or you can shuffle the cards, and you can pull it out and say, okay, let's just shuffle, and I'm pulling out this one. My mutation is frog legs. That's right. I got frog legs. Wonderful. With your powerful frog leg muscles, you can perform superhuman leaps. You can jump about 30 feet horizontally and 15 feet vertically. It costs 1 mutation point, which we'll get into when we talk about mutations in a couple weeks. You can leap on an enemy up to short range and immediately fight the person in the same turn. It will cost you 1 mutation point. And you can jump out of a dangerous situation. Spend 1 mutation point instead of rolling to move when you want to escape from a conflict. So there we go. And then finally, there are artifact cards. Artifact cards, think of these as, well, items. I don't want to call them artifacts like you're thinking magical items. No, but maybe to these folks, they are. They're items from the old world. What is this one right here? A hockey helmet. You can go out. You think I'm joking? You can go out all Jason Voorhees and you can wear a hockey helmet. What does it do for you, though? Protection rating 3 against damage. So, there you go. You don't need the cards. Everything from the cards is in the book. All right? So, yeah, where do you buy Megatron? Drive-through RPG? I hate the fact that Megatron is hard to find. That's my favorite one. Most people are going to be like, what? It's not Gen Lab Alpha? I thought you loved anthropomorphic animals. I know. I like Megatron better. They're both great. Don't get me, actually, all 4 of them are great. Don't get me wrong. But, man, Megatron is a pain in the butt to find. So, yeah, keep bugging. And this is why I hope by covering this game, that Free League, that draws interest, and Free League does want to do another print run. Charlotte Williams says, does the game have stronghold rules like Forbidden Lands? Different, but similar. If you like that, if you like what Forbidden Lands did, you'll like this. I would say this is kind of the proto version of Forbidden Lands, okay? Yeah, Omenel watches the Free League videos. I don't so much, but Free League has been non-committal about reprinting Megatron. Got to get people to really want it. I mean, honestly, it's about sales, right? They're a company. They want to make money. I mean, doing a print run of 1,000 books only to sell 15 isn't... But if, when we get to Megatron, I hope to sell you on that one. I love Megatron. I really do. Really do. So, anything else I missed? Crafty referred you? Oh, that's cool. Good. There's no Crafty today. He's not tithing. Oh no! It's because Heathen Dog's not here. See, when Crafty tithes, all his money goes to Heathen Dog. Well, Heathen Dog's not here, so Crafty bailed. He's like, I'm out. All right. Artifact cards, mutation cards. Map of the zone. I only have this map. I actually have to get a map of the zone. At least I didn't have one in my folder here. I mean, I have this folder that I hear. Discerning eyes can say, oh, that's the Elysium map. It is. I have 2 Megatron maps for some reason. I'm not sure why I have 2 Megatron maps. I have the Elysium map. I do not have Paradise Valley. I'm not even sure if there is a map for that one. There probably is, which is Gen Lab Alpha, and I don't have a map for the zone. It's weird to me, but yeah. So, all right, moving on. Fast forwarding during the game, you say your character does. You know what? I'm not going to teach people how to be game masters in this. This is all normal play type stuff. You play how you want. Got a super chat here. Let me pop it up on the screen. Boom. Oh, thank you, Squirrel Hermit. Squirrel Hermit says, then I shall tithe to ye, sir. That's right. I said ye. Where's the old geek? Not the old geek. All right. Thank you, Squirrel Hermit. I do appreciate that. But it makes it, it really does make it an easy read when it's done this way. So, talks about what role playing is. And then how you get started. By the way, these little sections here in the Mutant Year Zero books are amazing. It is absolutely amazing. So, getting started. Mutant Year Zero lets you get started quickly. The GM should preferably read the entire book. Yeah, you should. There are some nuggets in this book. You're right, Omanel. It's time to move on. I'm doing that. I get sucked down that rabbit hole, though. It's often best to learn the system by actually playing the game. 100% true. 100% true. In fact, I did a lot of playtesting internally with this to learn the system. System's simple, but there are some quirks to it. There are some nuggets in there that, oh, okay, didn't foresee that. But it's quick. It's not like a crunchy game where you have to learn every single aspect of the rules. This is it just has a couple of quirks to it that you're going to want to be prepared for. And we'll talk about that with the skills. So. No problem. I'm easily derailed on that topic, so you're okay. You're okay. So first, create your player character. Grab a character sheet. Follow the instructions, chapter 2, and we are going to go through that process. In fact, I have a video on that, which we'll talk about in the next segment. I have an entire character creation video for Mutant Year Zero, and it's funny, nobody's called me out on it, but I have one for Mutant Year Zero, Mutant Gen Lab Alpha, Mutant Megatron, and I was creating a team from one of each of the settings, and I never did the Mutant Elysium one, and nobody's yelled at me about it. Always been like, hey, you're missing one. Yeah, Mutant Elysium doesn't interest me as much as the others, but I do need to do that someday. Choose your zone, create your arc, and that's something that you will do before the game starts, and then you're ready to go. All right, typical session. Now, this is something I disagree with Free League on. I should probably show you the abbreviations too. Player character, experience points, game master, NPC, dev, development level. That's for your arc. I disagree with this order, and you'll see why here in a minute. Unless it's removed from here, because I'm not seeing it now. But anyway, bring out your map of the zone, character sheets, and dice. You have them. Playing cards, mutations. So basically, set up and prepare. Add a number of new mutation points equal to the number of mutations you have. When you start the session, if you have 2 mutations, you start the game with 2 mutation points. How do you get more? Well, we'll talk about that when we get to mutations. Hold an assembly. This is the one. This is the one thing I disagree with. Now, hear me out. I put this at the end. This is step 7. Why? Because when you have the assembly and you decide what's going to happen, what projects are going to be taken, I can then prepare the next adventure better. Now, it is a sandboxy game. You can still do what you want. And this really comes into play when we talk about Mutant Gen Lab Alpha. It's much more prevalent there than it is in the other 3. But I like this because if I do this at the end, we've done the role playing, we've done the adventure, now we're kind of doing the wrap up. We're doing the cleanup, right? And as long as they are back in the arc, which in my experience they have been, but I run longer sessions too, right? that I can use this. They can calm down. They can talk about the adventure. This is the out of character stuff. So they get to act in, kind of be in character, talk out of character, and help the arc. And it helps me prepare for the next session. Your mileage may vary. I'm not saying that this is wrong. What I'm saying is that I like doing this at the end, okay? Because then let the GM introduce a new threat to the arc using threat cards or a roll, or do your own thing. There are modules out there. They're called zone compendiums. They're really just modules, okay? You can use those as well. And they're fairly good. They're loosely organized. And what I mean by that is they're not step by step, but they are written to where you can run zones and the player have all the tools available to them to do what they need to do. And you really can't go off the rails. It's not a railroad, but it is a theme. And I think the zone compendiums that I've read through are good. I have not read through all of them. But they are good. And then there's one campaign setting called the Gray Death or something like that. Yeah, which combines all of them into one campaign. By all of them, I mean GenLab Alpha, Megatron, Year Zero, and Elysium, into one overarching story, which I have not read through, and I'm saving that for whenever I get a chance to run this game. 5 is player characters. 6 is hold a debriefing. Discuss the actions during the session should be rewarded with experience points. Again, I think that's at the end, but I mean, that is basically the end, right? And decide if you want to change relations with other PCs. This will come into, when we talk about character creation a little bit more. If you go through my character creation video, which I'll talk about in the next segment, then you'll get this more. What are those steps about? Okay. And there we go. This is going to be for the next segment. So let me finish up reading chat here. I can take this off the screen. And for the people who weren't happy about that, yeah, I got derailed. This isn't the Friday Chill stream. I shouldn't get derailed. That's my fault. But that's the thing, though. Man, Free League. I want to love Free League so much. Oh, it's just a couple little things. So, oh, okay, so it's back on that. Yeah, Crafty is Crafty's taking a little time away. So we put him in jail. No, we haven't. So, what if you guys have any questions, comments, concern? Oh, then never mind. It's like that. I'm late. So, hey, just so you know, Squirrel Hermit tithed for you, and Heathen Dog's not here, so he doesn't deserve to get paid anyway, does he? But somebody did shout you out, Crafty, saying that he's here because of you. So, oh yeah, it's this guy. Okay. Anywho, that's the background. I know that was a little bit longer than what the book said, but I want you to see my enthusiasm for this game. I really do. I am a fan because it offers so much in terms of using your imagination. Anybody who sits here and says there isn't enough to the game, oh my God. Use your noodle. Use it. There's so much available in this game, and it sets up the framework. No game, in my experience, and when I say no game, let me rephrase that. No company, no style of game. It's the Year Zero engine as a whole. Forbidden Lands also does it. Coriolis also does it. Alien also does it. No style of game sets you up with a framework like the Free League Year Zero engine games do. It gives you everything you need and a little bit more in order to get you started, and then releases you and lets you do your thing. And if that scares you, well, guess what? There's products out there you can buy. I have an introductory adventure. It's written for Forbidden Lands. I've used it for multiple games. That it'd be great to run at a convention. It's nothing deep. It's not a campaign setting, but it's an introductory adventure. Hell, Crafty's run it. It got resolved in a way I'd never even thought of, which is what's awesome about that. So just make your own adventures or go buy other people's adventures and you'll enjoy it. But since there's nothing else directly on this, I'm going to end this segment. We're going to pop into the next one. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you don't like what I said, again, about, we'll just say the linguistic style, go look at that webpage I messaged. I'm not going to answer any comments about it on this video. I receive them all the time. I'm just going to point you towards that URL. Other than that, I hope, I really do. I sincerely hope that these videos rekindle, or reach out and find, I was gonna say kindle or rekindle love for the Year Zero engine and Mutant Year Zero, or finds a new audience. Remember, I found out about this game by playing the computer game and saying, wow, that would make a great role-playing game. I looked it up and it was a role-playing game. And usually I get hurt when I do that. What I mean by that is I find the game and I'm like, oh, this game sucks. No, it was the opposite. Ended up, Free League became my joy. It's not to take away from any other game I played, Earthdawn, Palladium, whatever. But this is my recent joy.